My name is Titus Walker. I'm the CEO and founder of the Ultimate Endgamers League. We've been in operation for about 5 years, and we host competitions that are unlike anything else in gaming. Essentially, we're the UFC of gaming. So we've taken the approach of the holistic gamer, which we like to call the end gamer, and we combine all 5 genres of gaming: fighting games, sports games, shooting games, racing games, and strategy games. And then we have two teams go up against each other to see who's the best gamer, period. Where each game is only worth 1 point. You play them in a span of 4 hours. And normally you're playing about 25 to 33 different games. And yeah, the person with the most points wins.
That's interesting. How did that sort of idea come about? That's almost sort of like the Royal Rumble of games, like a kind of a mashup. How did you come up with this concept?
Well, I've always been a gamer since I can remember. I was like 4 years old when I started gaming. And when I started, I came out of real estate, and I was doing real estate development for about 8 years. So I would develop communities, and I'd start, I've done everything from like a 10 home community up to like a 2,000 home community. And so in developing those communities, I'd learn how to position them. I'd learn, I'd have to do a lot of research on what the area needed, what the community needed, the type of businesses in that community. So when I got into esports, I traded it the same way. I looked around at the market. I tried to look at what it needed. I tried to find what the community needed. And I found that in research, I found the average gamer plays 24 games a year. There was a ton of research done. It was a 400-page research thing that was done by the University of Mary Washington Business School. And they sent it to me, and I'm reading through it. And the one thing that stood out to me was the average gamer played 24 games a year. I mean, that was glaring to me. And I kind of recognized in myself that I play a lot of games. That's 2 games a month really isn't a lot. Two different games a month is, people do way more than that. I mean, there were 50,000 games developed last year. That's the estimated number of games, right? And so before that, when we started gaming, when I started gaming at 4 years old, they would develop in 2 games a year, if that. You know what I mean? It was taking. You had to wait a long time. I remember having the Nintendo 64 and having every game, and just having to wait for the next game to come out, right? And so a lot of the popular games are popular because it was all we had. Like that was literally it, Either it was a good game or it was a bad game, but either way you were playing it because it's all you had. And now it's, the market is different. It's not controlled as much by the developer as it is by the consumer, but the consumer doesn't quite recognize that yet. And so what's happening is I'm researching, and I recognize that, the first esports competition happened back in the 70s at a college, and it was Atari. And it was just a marketing thing. They were just trying to market their game. And so they put all of the students, put them in a competitive esports arena type thing, and had a competition. Every esport since then hasn't changed a bit. They take a single game, they host a competition. But my thought was, if the average gamer plays 24 games a year, why don't we have a competition that actually speaks to the average gamer? Why would I, if I'm, building a project, why would I build it for the minority, right? There is a major minority of people, like 0.0001% of people that play one game, right? And I used to say, how many number one gamers are there in each game? Like, there's only one. Why would I build an entire thing around them when there's the other 99.99% that don't have anything, right? That don't have that nobody's built anything for. So we started this. So we created this, and we found that, the average gamer is who we grab. They turn into above average gamers, but when we first, when people join the league, a lot of times they think they have to be this like excellent, like great gamer, blah, blah, blah. No, it really is just a mindset thing. If you're willing to put the work in, if you really want it, you can make it right now. Like it doesn't matter how bad you are at video games right now. There's so many people in this league that'll teach you, because they were all average, not even a couple months ago before they joined, right? Or a couple years ago, and so they want to develop those that want to learn, and are okay with learning lots of different games. And so So yeah, that's how it started though. It was really just trying to make something that I knew that the industry needed. Because another side to that is when you're in real estate development, you always have to pay attention to who owns what. You can't develop something in territory that someone else owns, right? Because if you start doing that, you're gonna lose. Like you have to own the HOA. You have to own you have to own these things so that you can control it.
Right.
In this industry, it seemed like nobody cared to own anything. It was like I'm seeing all these leagues being built. This was 2019. I'm looking around at the industry and I'm seeing this money getting thrown around. I'll never forget hearing Shaq bought a team for $165 million and they played League of Legends. And I was like, why would anybody do that? Like that is just crazy to me. Like they play one game and so your entire bet is that not only that this team is because that's hard enough. This team has to win consistently, constantly. For you to make any money back, the team has to win. Okay. Thing number two is the game has to be successful forever, right? Like that's what you're betting on. How long will it take before you make your money back if you win every tournament from this point forward? How long would that take? Then on top of that, the game has to be popular. So it could be around, but is it popular enough to have the money brought in, right? So you are basically betting on it is the craziest bet in the world for me, in my opinion, because it would be it for me again, taking it back to real estate, it would be like just betting on a piece of land, but never doing anything with it. Like you just, hey, yo, this land's gonna be great. And it's like, okay, well, you gotta develop it too. Like there's a lot that has to be done with that. And until that, it's not like I'm sorry, but there's no League of Legends team that's worth 165. It just doesn't exist. The game's not popular enough. The game's not even like the game makes great money, but it's not making so how are you gonna get that money? Where is it coming from? You know what I mean? Like I just it blew my mind. And that's what was happening all over the industry in 2019, 2020 especially. And I used to say it all the time. This is me buying a house on land I don't own. And then, or building a house on land I don't own. It doesn't matter how big the house, it's not mine. And so I have to build a community of gamers instead. If they play anything, then it's my community. Because if I'm the one that decides what they're playing, if I can control that, then I can make sure we're playing small games, large games, we're playing everything in between. And that changes every 6 months. Now they're not there for the games. They may join for the game, but once they're there, now they're there for what we offer, what we do, right? And so once we saw how much fun they were having doing it, okay, I think we have something. And then we just built on it.
But competitive, it's sort of how do you go about determining what game or the popular game? How do you go about determining you guys want to play? Kind of rotation of the games. How do you go about that?
We're looking for all games. So we determine it by finding great games. If we find a game that we know over the next 6 months our players are going to really enjoy, then it doesn't matter whether it's popular, unpopular. Like we had a game called Lemnis Gate on the wheel, and it was essentially it was a crazy game. It was so cool, but it was every third you would take turns. I'm going against you. It's a shooting game. And there's an objective. Let's say I got to capture this area. On your turn, you're going to run in and set up, play defense basic in a shooting game. So you're going to be, you think this person's going to be over here, so you're shooting over here. You're going to do this, you do that, right? But you don't know what I'm going to do. Right. It's my turn. I'm going to go in and do the same thing. But I know where you are because I got to see what you did, right? Now you go and you get to see what I did again, right? So now you have to stop me from stopping you. And then, but nothing else changes. So your first person goes out and does the same thing they did. And so you're going back in time over and over to try and stop that person from doing it.
And the longer you do it, the more you sort of know strategies and where people are going and stuff.
By the end of it, you have 5 people that you've operated that have all gone and done different things that you did separately, right? And then I have 5 people that went out and tried to stop you from doing those things, right? Yeah. And so it was the most fun shooting strategy game that we put it was in the strategy category because it was much, even though it was a shooter, it was very much a strategy game. But nobody knew about it. I think it had 100 people playing the game.
Yeah, I was going to say I haven't really heard of this.
Yeah, there's lots of games that Lemnis Gate. We play Wreckfest. We play Tabs. We play, like I said, Assassin's Creed. We played there's tons and tons of games that we're playing that we're just finding that are great games. We put them in the community, and then people enjoy it, and we build a competition around it, and then those games grow in popularity, just for the simple fact that we're playing them.
So how do you go about like setting up, the different events and set up, and sort of, is it just mostly like you have a big enough community now?
Sure, yeah, it's gotten a lot easier. I mean, first season one we had 14 people. Now we have about 200,000 gamers in our ecosystem, and then we have about 1,000 that have gone pro at some point in time, and then at any given time we have 206 active pro gamers. So the way it works, it's just NFL, NBA. There's a combine before the season. You have a draft in the season. So and there's 12 pro teams that are all owned by investors. And so those investors determine what pieces they want to move around to try and win and stuff like that. There's trades that happen throughout the season. There's a contract for every player in the league. They're under contract, and that has a certain term to it. So, they may be under contract for 2 seasons, 1 season, 3 seasons, whatever. And so the event part of it, it's not other leagues where it's like, oh, we just have one event or what. There's an event every Thursday. There's an event tonight, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the way it works is 2 teams will play each other. So when it comes to setting up the events, it's just we already have the events going. We do 160 events a year, not including the draft and that's just playoffs and regular season matches. But then we have All-Star Week, we have the draft, we have lines, so we're doing events all the time.
That's pretty dope.
And we do 2 seasons a year, so it's just a lot. It's always happening, right? We always have content for people, and so that's how we operate.
Yeah, that's what's up. Somebody wants to come along and they want to, they want to do one of these teams. Sort of, what's the process? Sort of, kind of introducing themselves, to the UEL as a whole, just to begin with, and then sort of what's the onboarding process?
So you go to our website, you put in your email, what games you play, and your name, and how to contact you, and that's it. You're in. It's that simple. It's free to join. That we never ask anybody to pay any money ever. It's free to join, and that's it. Now from there, it's up to your skills, and that's how I always wanted it to be. If I'm going to be a pro sport, I want it to be all about the skill, not about how much money somebody has. No pay to win, none of that. It is that simple. For us, the attitude of the player, the work ethic of the player is everything. Because we pay the gamers anywhere from $16,000 a year to $100,000 a year in salary. So you get paid win or lose. You join and you're getting paid. You're getting paid as a performance artist under contract for whatever team you get signed to. So you've got to have the work ethic. That's all we really care about, because the skill is going to be there. You've been gaming since you were 10 years old, and you're 16. That's 10 years of experience. The skills there. It's just how much did those skills transfer to different things. And we look at it holistically. What I've learned, and we have 2 doctors on staff that have put together basically a curriculum for gaming, right? And for gamers. And essentially what we learned is each genre of games teaches different skills. And a lot of times people stick to one. If they stick to one genre of games, it's because those are the skills they have in life. And I'll give an example. In fighting games, it's all just patterns, pattern recognition. It's understanding button mapping and layouts. And, if you're really good with patterns, pattern recognition, and then you're precise in your inputs, in a fighting game, you're going to do really well, right? Whereas in a shooting game, you have to have hand-eye coordination. You have to have a lot more spatial awareness. You have to have understanding of what a lot of times there's transferable skills that go from one to the other, but you have to be willing and open to pick up another genre to learn those transferable skills.
Right.
So then what we did is put together in our combine, we don't actually test you in regular games. We test you in different skills training to know, okay, how good is their hand-eye coordination? How good is their button mapping? How good is their pattern recognition? How good is their memorization? How good is their spatial awareness and their precision? Because these are all things that we know will translate to multiple. So it's not just, you need precision just as much as you need precision in a fighting game. And you need it in a racing game. It's very similar. You have to be very precise. Your decisions have to be very precise. And so when we train, or when we see a really high score in precision, we know where we can put that person. It's not necessarily the games they play. It's more about the skills they possess, and then how we can translate those into the other games.
Well, I've never really kind of heard anybody put it like that. But when you do put it like that,
Yeah, no, it is that, right? Like so historically for the past 5 years, when we're getting draftees, we collect all the games that they play. We've never had a person put in one game ever in history. In history, there's never been a person that's been like, I play this one, right? And that's it. But what happens is they come in and they think that, that's what they have to do, because that's what they don't know how good they are really, because this doesn't exist anywhere else. So in their mind, they're like, oh, I'm only really good. And what they mean is, in a competitive scene, I could probably only compete in X game. That's the only one that I think I can. But realistically, they can compete across the board. And our best gamers in they started as, like, one of them started as a Rocket League player and a Call of Duty player. And he now he can dominate. He can beat you in any game. It does not matter. You are not touching him. It's like, it's not going to happen. And then they're beating. So they beat people that come into the league that are professionals in games, that come in and have won world championships in games. They come in and then they lose to these players, because it's not all about, in a professional setting, you're sitting down, you're playing that game for hours practicing. So you're really just learning, like, the pattern of the game. You're not necessarily the best at it. You're the best at the pattern that wins that game. In every one of those games, Valorant, Fortnite, it doesn't matter. In fighting games, shooting games, it's all just patterns, right? Because a lot of times you don't see much difference in how the game is played, because all of the rules are set up to where the game has to be played a certain way, right? And so you end up just with a bunch of patterns. Like, I know I have to do this, this, and this in order to win, because I know what they're going to do. With this, you're playing 33 different games in a setting. You don't know what the pattern's going to be. Like, they could play any way they want. So it's kind of like, because that game is only going to last for 5 minutes. And so they got to beat you, and they got to beat you quick. And so you're going to expect it to be played a certain way, and then it's not. And that's what happens to a lot of pro gamers that come in. They're expecting a certain thing, and then somebody pulls out something completely different. And
sort of talk about, because this is sort of still a newer sort of concept, newer idea. Because when I was growing up, really, as far as tournaments and whatnot, it was very game specific, but it really wasn't even that widespread, even very specific games. The only ones that I could remember, Madden tournaments.
Right.
But, as far as like the CDL and like the Call of Duties and what, like that stuff just started popping up. But I mean, it wasn't really a sort of way to just join a league, but a specific landscape. What is the next ideas as far as growing UEL as a whole? But kind of what are the next ideas that are kind of on the horizon?
Yeah. So the end goal for us is to pay, gamers, regular gamers that just enjoy gaming, give them a creative outlet to be able to compete, and pay them more than NBA, NFL, MLB combined. Gaming is bigger than all of those things combined, period. The numbers speak for themselves. And so I think if the right type of gaming creation, the right type of game is created around gaming, people will pay attention. And I think the problem has always been the people that create a lot of these leagues are really the 0.1% that believe that, oh, everybody plays this one game and that's all there can be. And so they create these leagues thinking that's the case. But you're starting to see more people open up to this idea that a gamer plays a lot of games, right? A lot of streamers are starting to do it, and that kind of everybody's kind of following in line with that. And so now you have the Annihilators Cup, which is AT&T's thing. It's different, but it's coming around to that idea that, oh, people can play multiple games. Right. You have the World Cup in Saudi. Again, they're not actually playing different games, but it's coming around to the idea that multiple games matter. It's not it once was, where you only had 2 games. No, you have 50,000 games, and there's a lot of great games that don't get any shot. And the problem is, how can they? If you get into the industry, if you develop this game and it's amazing and it's so fun and people would really enjoy themselves in it, you can't really just build a community. You have to. It's very tough to kind of get in, because sports is all based on popularity. Every college that does it, every high school that does it, they always say, well, what's the most popular game? And then that's right there, they went wrong. The most popular game is having, I think, top 10, the number 10 game is 50,000 gamers playing. That's a lot of gamers, yeah, but 50,000 on a 3 billion community is like 0.00001%. So chances are you have a 1 in a million chance that you have even one student that plays the game that you just picked. Because why would you just pick one game? Pick a ton of games and play them. And so my goal is to be, the NBA doesn't control, I'm sorry, the NBA doesn't own basketball. Basketball should not be owned. It should never be owned. If it's owned, then it becomes a profit thing. And that's all that matters is it's profit, right? So basketball should never be owned. But the NBA controls basketball. And that's what I want to be for gaming. We don't own gaming. We want everyone doing it. We want everyone gaming. We want people trying to be professional and stuff like that. But we want to control it because we believe that what we do is the right path forward for profitability in gaming, for esports, for communities, for the gamers themselves. The average lifespan of a pro gamer right now is 6 months to a year before they're irrelevant. That's not a career. You're going to play 20 years, 8 hours a day to become this pro gamer just to be gone in 6 months. Where's your life gone? What are you doing now? There has to be something that's created that has longevity. The game itself is not it. There's going to be another Call of Duty next year and the year after that and the year after that. There's going to be another 2K next year and the year after that and the year after that. And those games are going to go this forever, right? It's not you make it about the game and it's all about popularity and all that stuff that. No, it needs to be about skill and work ethic. That's what any sport is about. Any sport, you name it, it's about skill and work ethic. If it's not about that, it's not a sport. You're having fun. It's a hobby. So it's to create a real sport, which we've done in gaming, that has zero focus on popularity. We do not care how popular we are or you are. We don't care. It is all about your skill.
It's nice. Where can people check it out? Find you, run down some socials if you got, just kind of give us like sort of all of that.
Awesome. Yeah. So at UEL Esports on all social media. So at UEL Esports, also all social media, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Instagram where we're most active. And then site is www.uelesports.com, which I know you don't have to say the www. uelesports.com, and you can sign up on our website. You can go to our Instagram. It has the link in the bio as well, and follow us on whatever social media you're on. And yeah, like I said, you register for free. We do not ask for money ever.
Do y'all stream some of y'all events? Like, how sort of what's the schedule like if people want to check it out and follow you online or whatever?
Yep, Thursday and Friday when the season. So our next season starts late August.
I mean, it's progressing, sure.